I really didn't care if my life ended or not. I didn't think the situation that I was in would ever could end. I really saw just one path, and when you don't care about anything, you'll pretty much do anything. Once we started doing identity theft, it just sort of spiraled way out of control really fast. We took what we learned and did a lot of damage within a year and a half. And then on March 28th, 2013, I was arrested along with my ex and another friend of ours for multiple counts of identity theft and one count of possession of a controlled substance. And I always say that it was this day that saved my life. And March 29th, 2013 is actually my clean and sober date. I'm Vik Chopra. I'm the co-founder and director of production for Unincarcerated Productions. And we're a film and television production company based out of the Seattle, Washington area. And it is our mission to shift the collective consciousness from intolerance to redemption by humanizing who we call the unincarcerated. And we define the unincarcerated as anyone who has achieved liberation from imprisonment in any form and is empowered to realize their highest potential. And why this mission is so important to me is because I am actually unincarcerated myself. I spent 5 years in the Washington State prison system. My path to incarceration was pretty unexpected, you could say. I grew up in the Seattle area, had a pretty normal, decent childhood. I was always the smart kid in school. I was an honor student. After high school, I went straight into college. I attended the University of Washington, and I got my bachelor's in economics from there. I partied in high school and in college, but I was always able to maintain. And I sort of took those habits into my adult life, you could say. But I still, took my degree and my experience, and I used that to get a job in media and in television in Seattle at the local PBS station, KCTS Channel 9. I did underwriting, sales, production, funding, really flourished for the 3 years I was there. I was an on-screen talent for them, got a talent agent, started doing acting gigs around Seattle. It was during this time that I got into a very toxic relationship. My partner and I went down the path of addiction pretty early on in our relationship. It started with pills. I was getting prescribed painkillers by my doctors for kidney stones, and then it turned into seeking out a dealer and OxyContin, and Oxy turned into an everyday habit really quickly. Things started to spiral out of control when I transitioned from KCTS to a radio station called KEXP in Seattle. My performance there really suffered during this time. I was barely able to maintain my job. I was flying back and forth from New York, taking sales meetings and then detoxing when I was in the city. It was a really dark time, and then things just spiraled out of control from there. I got laid off. He lost his job. We got evicted from our apartment. Taking Oxy turned into smoking heroin and meth. And then soon after that, we became homeless and started bouncing around an area in Washington called Snohomish County, up in a city called Everett, where we were getting all of our drugs from. And soon we found some pretty bad people that we were hanging around with that were really into financial crimes, fraud, identity theft. And once we learned that, we sort of just took off and ran with it. And at that point, I was pretty much a shell of a human being. I was like 115 pounds, totally suicidal. I really didn't care if my life ended or not. I didn't think the situation that I was in would ever could end. I really saw just one path, and so when you don't care about anything, you'll pretty much do anything, right? So once we started doing identity theft, it just sort of spiraled way out of control really fast. We took what we learned and did a lot of damage within a year and a half. And then on March 28th, 2013, I was arrested along with my ex and another friend of ours for multiple counts of identity theft and one count of possession of a controlled substance. And I always say that it was this day that saved my life. And March 29th, 2013 is actually my clean and sober date. It is now May of 2023, and I recently celebrated 10 years of being clean and sober. And, looking back, that was a really scary night for me, but I also say it was a night that saved my life. And my partner in Unincarcerated, Spencer Oberg, and I always say that, we turned what many would consider the worst thing that could ever happen to us and turned it into the best thing that could have ever happened to us, because I used the time that I was away to completely rebuild myself, mind, body, and soul. I ended up doing 58 months in the Washington State prison system, just under 5 years. And after about 3 months and the fog lifted and I was sitting there in Snohomish County Jail looking around the day room, I realized that I had fallen so far, and this was not the life that I wanted. This was not the story that I wanted to be told. I didn't want to be the tragic story of people that knew me. I wanted to take control of my life and write the next chapter of my story. And I wanted it to be a story of triumph and redemption. So I committed myself to my sobriety. I completely rebuilt my body. I went from being 115 pounds and not being able to do one push-up to benching like 155, 160 pounds by the time that I left, and I was about 155 pounds. So I put on about 20 to 30 pounds of muscle when I was away over those 5 years. I dedicated myself to meditation and spirituality, rebuilding all the relationships that I had broken with my family, with my friends. And I knew that I wanted to be a filmmaker when I got out. I had gotten my feet wet working for PBS, and I'd always been a lover of films. I had taken screenwriting courses, and so I decided that I was going to start a production company, and that's just what I was going to do. And when I met Spencer at work release, we had a meeting of the minds, and he was very motivated and driven and like-minded like myself, and we decided to start Unincarcerated together. And we've been at it for just over 5 years, and we are at a spot right now that's really, really exciting. We have some really, really cool projects that are going on. We just signed a partnership deal with the Harlem Globetrotters for one of our documentary films. We're working on several others. I'm currently the first assistant director and editor on a new late night talk show called Joy Sauce Late Night, which is on a new platform called joysauce.com, which is focused on Asian American creators and stories. I just sold a show to the platform as well that premieres in a few weeks. I am actively doing acting roles. I'm represented by All About You talent in the state of Washington. And my life is really fucking beautiful, and I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for every day that I have my sobriety and my freedom. And I know the alternative of where I came from and what my life could have been. And I know that I chose something different. And I choose that every day. Every day I choose my sobriety. Every day I choose my freedom above everything else. And that has given me the foundation to lead and live a very blessed, incredible life. And it is also really important to me to give back to this community, to the communities that I came from, the communities that define me. I am queer. I am South Asian. I am the son of immigrants. I am formerly incarcerated. I am an addict in recovery. And although I do not let these categories define me, they are the lenses that I view this world through, and they are the communities that I am focused on giving back to and creating not just a space at the table, but I'm creating my own table. I'm creating a table for everybody else so we are able to celebrate who we are. I do not want anybody that's been through the same experiences as me to live with the shame and the guilt that I went through. I want people to know that it is okay. What you've been through is okay, and you are beautiful, and you are worthy, and you are loved. And that is my passion in life, and that is my mission, to make sure that everybody feels that about themselves and knows that just because you're formerly incarcerated, that experience doesn't have to define you. You do not have to be put in a box. You can overcome that. You can defy that. You can use it as a springboard, actually, for your success. I'm using my life as an example for that, and I just hope to be an example that inspires others, and I hope to continue to not only create more and more tables, but to create an enterprise and really to just be a media mogul, man, just fucking kill it in this life, because I know I can, and I have a ridiculous amount of belief in myself, and I know that I can. Honestly, I wouldn't be the man I am today if I had not been incarcerated. Incarceration gave me an opportunity to really be removed from not only the toxic people and situations and prevented me from doing toxic actions and committing crimes, but it actually gave me a space, an incubator, to really dive deep and do the shadow work within myself to really understand and realize how and why I had gotten to that point, and to really do the work on myself and the self-reflection to really decide what kind of man I wanted to be in this life. I always considered myself a very good person. I'd always been very social, very outgoing, but I made some really fucked up choices. And I had to ask myself why I did that, you know? And it's hard to take a really, intense look at yourself, to take a hard look at yourself, to put yourself under the microscope and really do that work and realize the thought patterns and the emotions and the trauma and everything that had been built up in me over the years, whether it was abuse inflicted upon me by my father or the self-hatred I had from living in the closet because I was ashamed of being queer, or all the trauma that built up from becoming an addict and using and self-medicating myself, and all the emotions that I repressed and everything, right? Like, it all just builds upon itself. And it really gave me a chance to look at it and then start breaking it down and really see, like, okay, this is the foundation that I want to have. This is where I want to lead my life from, live my life from this core being within myself of, like, I want to live with integrity. I want to live and be the human that I know I can be, but that also can inspire others to realize and live their highest potential as well. And that's honestly what incarceration gave me. I'm grateful for those 5 years. I am humbled by those 5 years. I am blessed with those 5 years. I did not waste that time. Sometimes people in my life can say that, like, I look at how much time you lost. Look at what happened. And they don't mean it like offensively, but I'm like, you know what? No, I didn't lose that time. I was given that time. I appreciated that time. Could I have come across it differently? Yes. Could I have been removed in a different way? Yes, of course. But, like, that is a time that I was given, and I made the use of it. And I am very proud of the man and the human that I am today because of it. If you would have asked me, even in my early to mid 20s, if I would have thought that I could have ever ended up in prison, not only myself, but everybody that knew me in my life would have laughed in your face. They would have been like, no way. There's no way that Vik could have ended up in prison. So yeah, it was very unexpected, but addiction doesn't discriminate. Life doesn't discriminate. You can't ever judge anybody or look at them or otherize them because of where they're at in life, because you don't know when life throws curveballs at you, when different things happen. I mean, you don't know how you're going to react in those situations. So literally anybody can end up in any situation given the right circumstances. So it honestly really humbled me and has given me a great sense of empathy and understanding and ability to just walk in other people's shoes. I was incarcerated at not only Snohomish County Jail, but the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, and then Reynolds work release in downtown Seattle for a cumulative span of time of 58 months. That's almost 5 years. 5 years incarcerated, and I would say the prison system itself fell short in many, many capacities. I essentially created my own program of rehabilitation when I was there. I was very blatant and open in the fact that I was an addict and I wanted help. None of that was given to me in the 16 months that I was in Snohomish County Jail, nor was it really addressed when I got to the Washington State Penitentiary. They offered AA or NA, but honestly, those, in my opinion, were just like a joke, a reason for guys to write kites to get out of the unit and just go and fuck around. So I committed myself to my sobriety myself, and I was actually not even offered a rehabilitative service till I got to Reynolds work release, which was 52 months into my incarceration. So I had 52 months clean and sober, and then I was offered an IOP. Not offered, I was forced to do an IOP at that point at Reynolds work release. I was also denied certain education because of my crime. I wasn't able to take graphic design or any other class on a computer because I had identity theft charges, and they didn't offer master's degrees because I had already had my bachelor's from the University of Washington. So I literally created my own program of reading, screenwriting, fitness. I sought out my own teachers in my fellow prisoners and my friends to teach me weightlifting and fitness. So I feel like there was many failures from many different levels. If I didn't have the drive and the motivation myself, I could have very easily fallen into other traps or other previous habits, or fell back into addiction very easily because drugs run very rampant there. The penitentiary was offering, AA courses and things like that, and they did have some programming, carpentry and whatnot, but it was nothing that really, anything that I was really interested in, and really just I don't know. The prison provided basically just the incubator for me. I made everything else happen. And then with reentry, I was very lucky that I had family support, and I had a home to go to, and a family that helped me and got me back on my feet. I had a job waiting for me that I was very lucky that I was able to get into when I was at work release. Otherwise, back then, guys would have to literally look in the phone book, in the yellow pages, and then use a payphone to make calls, and would literally have to go business to business, door to door, seeking out jobs, or go to the work source center. I think some things have changed recently, but it was very, very difficult. Like if I had just done 10 years and I got to work release and was thrown into this mix, I probably would have freaked out, or got a major write-up or something, or I don't know. But it was even for me, somebody that's very technologically inclined and had a lot of support, it was still very, very stressful. The prison environment is trauma. Like, yes, it was an incubator for me, but it was also trauma. It's very traumatic, and you have hundreds, thousands, millions in this country, right, that go through it. And I'm very lucky that I had the background that I had the family support, I had the education. Most of the humans going through the incarceration system don't have that. And I really still struggled when I got out with emotional issues. I had trouble being in public spaces. I had trouble making decisions. I got analysis paralysis all the time. I got stressed out way easier. I went through my own bout of depression. I had moments when I really struggled, even when I had all that support. So I'm thinking about all the other humans that get out that don't have that support, that didn't just do 5 years, that did 10 years, that did 20 years, and they're coming out to a completely different environment. Anybody that can survive it and also succeed, you are in like the 0.001 percentile, because most can't handle it because of what they've been through. They are not given the resources or the services or the support that they need to successfully transition back to the real world. And most of them don't find a job within a year or housing. And the national recidivism rate in this country is about 77%. And I just learned today that recidivism doesn't even cover like other forms of incarceration as well. So I'm sure it's even higher of people going back to old habits, recommitting crimes, or having probation or parole violations and having to do more time. So the system itself needs to be changed because it is not set up for success. It is set up to create a revolving door policy of humans going back to prison. I would say to anyone that is struggling with addiction or is an addict in recovery, anyone that has struggled with their sexuality, anyone that has been impacted by the criminal justice system, whether they are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated themselves or has a family member that is incarcerated. I would want you to know that there is always hope, no matter what. That even at the darkest points of your life, there's always a light that you can follow and bring yourself out of it. Or if you know somebody that's struggling, there is a light for them to follow as well. I know sometimes it's hard. They may not see it, you may not see it, but it's there. There was a moment, many moments in my life that I thought I was going to die, that I thought that drugs or a life of crime, or even when I was dealing with mental illness and depression from living in the closet or any of the other trauma that I dealt with, I felt that like my life was not going to go on. But I found a way to survive, overcome, and thrive. And I've actually used my trauma as a way for me to really crack the shell on who I am as a human and really evolve into the man and the really, honestly, what I feel is a beautiful soul that I have. And I'm grateful for the experiences. And my life is really beautiful now, and I'm grateful for every day. And if I can do it, anybody else can. It doesn't matter if they've been using for 5, 10, 15 years. There's always hope. There's always a way out. There's always a way to change and to improve your life and to achieve freedom or to gain sobriety. It's there. You just have to know where to look. And hopefully my story and my words today can help you find that light.